Hi guys, it's Webby. Welcome back to another video. Today you join me for my very first drive in a fully electric vehicle. So I've got the Jaguar I-pace SE here, which has been very kindly lent to me by the team at Berwick Jaguar Land Rover. So yeah, as I say, it's my first drive. They're a bit different, as you probably expect to a diesel or petrol powered car. So that's the whole sort of exercise of the video, to understand what they're about, have a bit of a drive, and find out what the differences are between an electric car and a car with a petrol or diesel engine. So yeah, it's quite interesting from what I've driven so far. I picked the car up last night, brought it home, and it's very different the way you drive it to a normal car, which I'll explain as we go for a bit of a drive in a moment. So what I'm going to do is show you around the car on the outside. We'll have a look at a bit of the inside, obviously discuss some of the tech about the car and the engine obviously, and then yeah, just give my thoughts at the end and tell you what I think of the car. So far, yeah, I'm quite impressed. It does take a little bit of adjusting to your driving style, how you drive the car, but again, I'll sort of tell you all about that as we're driving along. So without further ado, let's get started. Just got to a nice little sort of parking area where we can stop and do a bit of filming. So I'm going to show you a bit around the outside of the car, some of the optional extras that's been optioned on this particular model. And then we'll have a little bit of a look at the inside as well, because obviously that's where there's a lot of technology on this car. So yeah, I'm just going to switch the camera around and give you a bit of a tour. So here we are then. This is the the I-pace SE. There's three models in the range. You've got the S, the SE and the HSE. So this is the mid-range one. So there's a couple of options that's been put on this vehicle, which I'll run through with you in a minute. So we've got the key here, sort of fairly standard stuff, lock and unlock. One to do the front boot, I suppose you call it, and obviously the one for the tailgate. The thing I like is when you unlock the vehicle, I'll just show you because I don't know how well it's going to pop up on camera. So yeah, you press the unlock button and the door handles pop out. How cool is that? I think some of the Land Rover and Range Rover models do that as well, but just, I don't know, I like gadgets, simple things and all that. So yeah, so this is the SE. Colour is called Santa Fe Black, which is obviously an optional metallic paint finish, but I think it suits the car really well. So if we look at some of the styling on the outside, so you've got things like nice LED headlights at the front there. But interestingly, what I noticed a minute ago is this little grille here. I don't know if you can just about see daylight just coming through there. I think it's designed to sort of like for airflow to sort of go up here, and then it comes out the top of the bonnet. So I'll just show you around there. There you go, you can just about see the floor through the gap there. It's a little bit reminiscent of what Ferrari do with the 488 Pista. They call it an S-duct, obviously because they're Italians and they like to have flash names for things. But yeah, it's a little bit reminiscent of that actually. So other things, looking around this car, it's got some upgraded alloy wheels. Looking rather nice actually, the two-tone finish, which goes rather well with the black car. It's also got a panoramic sunroof as well, which is a rather nice option. And weirdly enough, it doesn't seem to have an internal blind, but the glass is dark enough that when it's really sunny you don't get too hot, which I think is a bit of a good idea. So coming around the back, now obviously the tailgate is electric as well, which we can do off the key. So just a quick double press of the button on the key opens up the boot for us. Now in here we've got two different charging cables. The one on the right hand side is actually the standard cable that comes with the car. So this is the one you just plug into your household socket at home. Takes forever to charge though. I think they quote something like 20 hours from 0 to full to charge the battery. Okay, I charged up a little bit last night just so I could use the car today, and I think in something like 12 hours it went up about 30% or something. So yeah, it takes forever. This one over here, the blue cable, this is an optional cable, what they call the public cable. So obviously you can use it at public charging points. I'm assuming you must have to get some sort of app or an access code to use the charging public points. I'm not too sure, to be honest. But yeah, so that's I think that's quoted at 40 minutes or something, which is obviously a heap quicker. Other than that, the boot is actually a pretty reasonable size. You've got the tether points on the back of the seats there, so obviously you can put child seats in there, just like any other car these days. So just close that back down. So on the back there, EV 400, obviously electric vehicle, 400 horsepower is what that relates to, and then all-wheel drive as well. So as a car to sort of look at, it doesn't necessarily make you automatically think, oh, that's an electric car, like a Tesla, I suppose. It's a little bit different in terms of design, but I don't necessarily think it's a bit too over the top. I actually think it's quite a nice looking car. Apologies if the sun's a bit bright. It's winter here in Melbourne, so the sun's sort of fairly low in the sky. But it's quite a recognisable shape, I think. I know Jaguar have got the F-pace and I think it's called an I-pace, and they all start to look a little bit the same. But yeah, this I think is just enough of a difference to sort of make it stand out from any other car on the road. I've certainly had a few people look at it while I'm driving, whether that's because of the shape or they can't hear an engine as I'm driving past. I'm not too sure, to be honest, but yeah, I think it's a fairly good looking car. So next we'll have a look at the inside and I'll show you some of the tech that's in there, because obviously it's a little bit different to your average car. Okay, so now stepping inside the car. So before we actually climb in, I'll just show you a couple of bits and pieces that are sort of like on the outer edges of the car. So we've got this really awesome Meridian sound system, which, as I said earlier, it's got like a really good bass. It's very clear. It's a fantastic sound system. Just next to that, you've got the memory buttons for the electric driver's seat. Other than that, you just windows and mirrors and things. The seats themselves, as I said a minute ago, just as I was driving, super comfortable. So you've got these nice sort of supportive bits of your rib cage, bits down there for leg support as well. I quite like the white stitching. That's a nice little touch. Just brightens the cabin up a little bit, because otherwise it might be a little bit too dark. And so that optional panoramic sunroof is amazing. And as I said, it doesn't seem to let too much light in when it's really sunny. I'm not quite sure how they've done that, but yeah, it's a good trick whatever they've done, because it doesn't get hot in the cabin, which is good, because obviously a massive glass sunroof like that could easily get too warm. But looking inside, let's actually jump in and I'll show you some of the controls and how things are laid out, because it's quite impressive. So what we've got here in front of us is a full digital display there for the driver, and if I just press the start button just to bring the accessories on, so there you are, it just sort of starts up into life. So if I actually put my foot on the brake and start the car, I think that's what you call it with electric cars. So there you can see, that's what I was talking about earlier. So you've got that central speedo with the charge and the power sort of indication just there in the middle. So that changes depending on, like I say, whether you're accelerating or decelerating. So yeah, it's quite handy. It tells you the range there, so I've got 199 kilometers left. On the right hand side of the screen, it's currently showing the navigation, and on the left hand side you've got the radio there. So it's really easy laid out. It's nice and easy to read. You don't have to sort of try and concentrate too much on what's going on that screen. Coming over to the left, we've got this really huge widescreen display, which gives you obviously like your navigation, your phone and your radio, that type of thing. It's also got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as well, so it's nice and modern and up to date. I had heard rumours or people talk about the infotainment system being poor. Maybe that was before they introduced Apple CarPlay, I'm not too sure. But these days everyone just plugs their phone in and uses you know, whatever you've got on your phone, be it Google Maps or Spotify for music and that type of thing. I can't, you know, I don't speak to many people who use you know, the built-in sat nav on most cars these days. But you've got these buttons down the bottom here, so these are all the different functions you can actually operate on the system. So if we have a bit of a flick through, okay, so that's the main bits and pieces. That is the home screen. You've got a settings button, so you can obviously go in to adjust things. So it all seems fairly sort of self-explanatory. Bluetooth, obviously music, phone, that's navigation. You've got the active parking system, turn off your parking sensors and cameras. So yeah, I don't think it looks too difficult, to be honest. Coming down sort of the console a little bit further, there's your stop start button, your hazards, and on and off and volume for your radio. So far it's pretty sort of standard stuff. But this screen here, this is actually quite interesting. So this is all like your air conditioning, you can operate your heated seats, but also in the little middle screen you can have a separate display for what you're listening to in terms of music. So obviously here we're showing the radio, but if you had, say, your Apple CarPlay going and you were listening to a song on Spotify, you could have your song down here to show you what you're listening to, and then on the display up there you could have your maps working, which I think is fantastic, really. I like that. That's a really cool idea. I wish other you know, car manufacturers would let you do that. And also if you've got your Apple CarPlay working, you've got your Spotify here, you'd also see it up here as well. So where this is showing the radio at the minute, it would show what's on your Apple CarPlay. Again, just another neat little touch that I actually quite like. Everybody is obviously going to, you know, feel differently about that, but I quite like it. So with the dials, what you can see, it's actually multifunction. So if you was to push the button down, that takes you to your heated seats, and then you just twist it to actually adjust the temperature of your heated seats. But then if you push it, and actually, yeah, so you push it again so it goes back to temperature for the aircon, and then you can obviously just adjust it as normal. And then the other functions you can do on this side is if you actually pull it, then it allows you to adjust the fan for the air conditioning. It confused me slightly at first, but once I've figured it out, it was actually quite easy. And it's a similar thing on the other side. Again, you push it, that gives you the operation for the heated seat. Push it again, and then you've just got your some more air conditioning controls. So yeah, it's actually quite easy to use. I didn't find it too complicated to get the hang of. Then we've got, it's not a gearbox, is it? Drive, neutral, reverse, and your handbrake. Again, very, very simple to get used to. It's just that when you first start the car, in inverted commas, and put it into drive, yeah, nothing kind of happens. You just take your foot off the brake, it starts to move, and off you go. Yeah, very, very strange and surreal. Then over this side, this is what I was talking about earlier. I don't know how well it picked up on camera, but these buttons are for the driving modes. Then you can turn off, obviously, your traction control down there. I couldn't actually figure out what this button was, if I'm honest. Yeah, I probably need to look in the manual to figure out what that one does. It does something up here on the dash, but I'm not really too sure. I thought it was cruise control at first, but yeah, maybe it's something to do with the four-wheel drive system. Probably should have read up on that before I push the button to try and explain what it does. But yeah, so other than that, it's a nice place to be. It feels sort of fairly sort of spacious. The glass area is quite big. You get a really good view out, and even sort of people in the back, you know, they're not sort of second-rate passengers. They get plenty of leg room. You know, certainly behind that seat there, having that panoramic sunroof really makes a difference, because you know, because it goes all the way, you know, front to back. It lets a heap of light into the car. Okay, that'll be the GoPro turning off because the battery's gone flat. But yeah, so lovely, comfortable place to be. and yeah, you could get very comfortable and do a long journey. So now this is the interesting bit, to see what the car actually drives like. So we just push the stop-start button, and just hear some chimes and some lights come on, and yeah, that's kind of it. No engine start noise or anything. You kind of hear some fans come on, not just the air conditioning obviously, but yeah, it's sort of just fans on the car itself, which I guess helps sort of with cooling of the batteries. Then yeah, we pop into drive and off we go. It's really weird. Yeah, you got none of that kind of engine noise as you pull away or anything like that. It's quite bizarre. If you've never driven an electric vehicle, it's quite odd at first. And I think that the first thing you kind of realise that's missing is, like, you know, when you first pull away from a junction or traffic lights or whatever, you're kind of waiting for that gear change noise, but it doesn't happen because obviously there is no gear change. It's just got that one gear, so it's really bizarre. But you do soon get used to it, and there's no, I mean, the noise of the electric motor changes in pitch, I suppose you'd call it. But yeah, there's no kind of like different rev sounds, gear changes or nothing like that, as you'd expect. But yeah, it's pleasant. It's yeah, it's I don't know. It's hard to explain until you've driven an electric car as to just exactly what it's like. The one thing you do have to be careful of though is, because you're not aware of any change of speed because of the sound of the engine obviously in a normal car, is sometimes you don't realise how fast you're going because there's not a change in engine note, so you have to be a little bit careful. A couple of times I've sort of looked down and it's like, oh okay, that caught me out a little bit. So yeah, you just have to be a little bit mindful of something like that. And depending on the road surface, sometimes you hear a little bit more sort of road noise or tyre noise, and then you sort of think to yourself, oh, that's a bit noisy for an electric car. But obviously forgetting that normally if you was in, say, a petrol or diesel car, you're not hearing those noises as much because you're hearing some of the engine sound. So it's not that the electric car's noisy, it's just obviously you know, a normal car would drown out those noises that you would normally hear. Now, one thing I have found that's quite interesting is you've obviously got your two pedals like you get on a standard automatic car, but where on a normal petrol or diesel car, when you take your foot off the accelerator, it will obviously, you know, start losing speed, but do it at a sort of gradual pace. Whereas on this, as soon as you lift your foot off the accelerator, it's almost like a light switch. It just switches off the power altogether. And the first time I sort of took my foot off the accelerator pedal, it was almost like someone just slammed the brakes on. Yeah, it took me a little while to sort of get adjust to that. But the trick is, what you can actually do is just use the accelerator pedal to brake and accelerate. So to explain that, basically what you do, rather than lifting your foot off the accelerator, you know, like you would in a normal car, and then it's slowing down gradually, what you do is you just lift your foot off the accelerator gently, so then it brakes for you gently as well, if that makes sense. Yeah, so it's almost like that one pedal is accelerator and brake, and then obviously you then still got your normal brake pedal as well. But yeah, there's definitely a bit of an art to sort of modulating the accelerator pedal so yeah, it doesn't sort of throw you through the windscreen when you brake too hard. But yeah, there's definitely a sort of a knack to it. But when you get it right, it's actually sort of strangely satisfying, because you sort of think to yourself, oh, I got it right that time. And yeah, there is something strangely satisfying about it. Now, talking about ride comfort, because obviously an electric car is a fair bit heavier than what we call a normal car, when you go around corners you can feel the extra weight, because obviously, you know, if you're lugging around sort of 2.5 ton, you will notice that. So yeah, you can notice sort of the extra weight going around corners. So I think because of that they've had to make the suspension sort of fairly firm. So if you go over a road that's a bit uneven, you do feel the bump sometimes. But you know, it's not that often that it sort of causes you problems. Stuck behind a tractor, everyone's favourite. There's a nice little dial in front of you, which I'll show you when we stop. So it's basically, you've got a big speedo, but then one side of the needle is showing you how much power you're using. And then the other side is when you're braking it, because when it brakes it sends power back to the battery to charge them up. So the little needle sort of goes backwards and forwards between charge and power. So it tells you whether you're taking power out of the batteries or whether you're putting power back into the batteries by charging them. And again, it almost becomes a little bit of a game. You know, when you're going down a hill or when you're braking, you can see how much power, you know, you're storing back into the batteries. So yeah, it's a definitely a different driving experience to a normal car, but it's not without its fun. So the motor produces 294 kilowatt, so roughly sort of 400 horsepower, which isn't a bad amount of power, to be fair. And because it's like, you know, electric is like a light switch, isn't it? It's instant power, it's there all the time. So literally from sort of standstill to 100 kilometers an hour is about 4.9 seconds. So that's in the territory of something like I know a Volkswagen Golf R is similar sort of performance to a Mustang V8, and plenty of other cars are around the 5-second mark. So it's certainly not slow for such a heavy vehicle, and you get that sort of instant push in the back when you put your foot down. With all that sort of instant power, great for overtaking, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, you'll very rarely get stuck in a gap or have a situation where you can't get past someone quickly. So that's the video of the Jaguar I-pace. Let me know what you thought. I actually thought it was quite an interesting car. I'm going to say, for the first time I've ever driven an electric vehicle, it surprised me, and yeah, I've got a positive sort of thought process about it now, I suppose. If you've got any questions on the car, obviously leave them in the comments below. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to support the channel, please subscribe and put the notification bell on, because that will let you know when new videos come out. Again, a massive shout out to the guys over at Berwick Jaguar Land Rover for lending me the car. As I said, I'll put their details in the comments section below, on the description. And yeah, if you need a Jaguar or Land Rover, get in contact with the guys over there. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.